And what is methamphetamine? This is kind of a white powder pill. It's easily dissolves in water or alcohol. People will call it rocks or glass. Sometimes it can look like a shiny blue white rock. It can be swallowed, snorted, smoked, or injected. It can also used rectally as well. Street names include speed, crank, chalk. I've heard that. Trash, dunk, Scooby snacks, rocket fuel. What is the prevalence of methamphetamine? In 2015 to 2018, approximately 1.6 million adults on average use methamphetamine each year. Again, that's similar to the last one I saw in 2018 with cocaine use disorder, which was about 1.5. So it is a tremendous amount of people. Nearly 25% of those reported injecting methamphetamine. And approximately 50% of the person using methamphetamine in the past year met diagnostic criteria for methamphetamine use disorder. And again, fewer than one third received treatment for that. What is meth made from? It is a combination. You have this shake and bake that can be made, kind of in the lab out in rural America, or a lot of it is coming from, the border and shipped in from Mexico. But it's using these toxic chemicals. You'll see acetone in nail polish removal, lithium used in batteries, toluene used in brake fluid, hydrochloric acid used to make acid, pseudoephedrine, you'll see that in cold medicine, red phosphorus, you'll see matchboxes, and sodium hydroxide, which is basically lye. So a lot of toxic chemicals in there. We're also seeing a lot of counterfeit pills. These started to really appear in 2019 and 2020. And we're seeing these come up from Mexico. These are distributed high purity and high potency across the Southwest border. We see the domestic production, the shake and bake shops really decline in the United States because there's so much of a push through the Southwest border. And it's just this high potency, low cost counterfeit pills. So a lot of my patients will say, oh, I'm taking, Adderall I got off the street, or, whatever stimulant it is. And it's definitely not that. How does meth work? It's a little different than cocaine. It kind of has a four-prong approach. So if you can look here, this is kind of your normal synaptic vesicle in your synapse and how your neurons work. But then you see this methamphetamine induced changes. So basically it hooks onto this inhibitor right here. So it inhibits this VMAT, this vesicular monoamine transporter. So more dopamine is kind of dumped out into this in the end of the axon right here. And that also kind of hooks on to the reuptake, and it opens up these channels here. So this synapse, you get this big surge of dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. And this causes reverse transport into the synapse, and it displaces these from the synaptic vesicles. So basically you have all this competitive inhibition, and you have all this uptake of these monoamine neurotransmitters. And this can last for a very long time. And this is why meth is so difficult. You get this huge drive of dopamine concentration. You might see this with, sex or eating chocolate cake. You get this kind of little blip. And again, this dotted line is kind of your baseline of dopamine. Throughout the day, you might, not be waking up, you drink your coffee, or you hear some good news. You might get a little blip in the brain. But this tremendous, huge shift, smoking or doing IV methamphetamine, really jacks that dopamine levels up in the nucleus accumbens and hijacks the survival system. So your brain just kind of realizes it over time that this is a really, good thing to them, to the brain, because it increases the dopamine. So the brain kind of learns to like this. And then once it gets into that survival system, it goes ahead of food, sex, water. Stage 1, you get this 5 to 10 minute rush. Stage 2, you get this 4 to 14 hour high that you hear. And then stage 3 is usually the crash, about 24 hours to 48 hours after. that you'll hear about. Health effects of methamphetamine. You have increased wakefulness and physical activity. You'll get decreased appetite. A lot of patients will start to lose weight. Increased breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, irregular heartbeat. In long term, once you get 3 to 6 months or even shorter out, people will start to get anxiety, confusion, insomnia, psychiatric mood problems, violent behavior, paranoid, hallucinations. And again, this is all from that huge monoamine increase in this dopamine flood. Delusions, weight loss. People won't sleep for a week. Other health-related issues, pregnancy, you'll get premature delivery, placental abruption, low birth weight, lethargy, heart and brain problems. It is considered neurotoxic in pregnancy. And again, in combination alcohol, another issue is people will kind of not notice the effects of alcohol and drink more. So this can actually increase the overdose of alcohol as well. And we're seeing the same trend in overdose that we saw with the cocaine use disorder into the methamphetamine use disorder. And again, this yellow line, you can see it's almost non-existent. You see this rise in 2016 when fentanyl kind of took over, and 17, and then it just kind of blows up in 2020. This psychostimulant overdose in combination with synthetic opioids, other than methadone, which is again what you're seeing with fentanyl. So what are the overdose signs of methamphetamine? Similar to cocaine, you see this hot flush skin, severe headaches, chest pain, unsteady walking, difficulty breathing. A lot of people will present with psychiatric symptoms, hallucinating, picking, confusion, tremors, a lot of spasmings or jerky movements. So then we get into kind of withdrawal symptoms. With the methamphetamine, it's a little longer than the cocaine. About day 4 to 7, people will get really depressed, exhausted, hallucinate, panic. They'll have huge cravings, irritability. A lot of times people will say, I slept for about 4 days straight. And again, this kind of goes from week 1 into week 2. By week 3, they're still, they're starting to get their mood back, at least anecdotally, what patients have told me. The depression and fatigue is still there, but by week 4, they start to feel a little bit better. So you got to remember this takes time, especially based on, how your metabolism works, how your genetics works, how much frequency, how much you're using, the amount you're using. So these all take into account. So a lot of times by week 4 or 5, people will say, man, my mood is really improving. I feel better. I'm clear headed, but it takes time. So we have to support them and really, really be patient. And then I'm sure most of y'all have heard of post-acute withdrawal syndrome or pause. This can be 3 to 6 months of, mood swings, cravings, depressions.